on planned executions. Let's talk about it as Geraldo Rivera is here, our NewsNation correspondent at large, but we also want to welcome in today retired Brigadier General John Teichert. Welcome to you both. Geraldo in a moment, General Teichert first on the new comments from the president and what you take from them, if that's what he chooses to highlight. Again, at a bill signing ceremony, he comes right out and says, the killing's stopping. I have it on good authority that there's no executions. What do you take away from that?
Connell, first of all, I'm a bit skeptical that Iran and the Ayatollah are doing the right thing by their people. And we also have to realize that it's likely that they have already killed 2,500 or more of the protesters and captured or detained maybe up to 20,000. And I also think it's important that the president doesn't let the pressure off of the Ayatollah, because if the Ayatollah believes that the United States may strike, then it forces him to divide his forces to pay attention to the potential external threat, and they can't be used in internal security, and it's good for the protesters if Iran believes that we still might strike.
I want to be clear, the president did not explicitly take military action off the table, but he did choose to emphasize what we just talked about, Geraldo. What's your thoughts?
Well, regards to the general and to you, Connell, I think that unless it's a head fake, and of course President Trump can do it that way. Sure. He did it that way with Iran last time. It seems to me de-escalatory. It seems to me that he's backing off, that Iran has given some concession, some secret concession. That regime change for the moment, again, I stress, unless the president is fooling everybody, it just seems to me that the pressure on Iran, and General duly notes and accurately, hundreds, if not thousands of Iranians have already been killed. But what seems to be the bottom line here is that executions will not go forward. They were threatened initially. We thought we would see, mass hangings or firing squads, or not see them, but hear about them ultimately. That seems to be off the table. Hopefully it is. But where it goes, I think that, having covered this thing since 1979, it just seems that this is a regime that's being held together with improvisation and theocracy. I don't know where it's going, but it just seems that Trump's backed off a hair.
Where do we want it to go, General, specifically? In other words, what will be our goal here? Is it regime change? Is it the toppling of the regime? Is it helping the protesters to do that on their own? How do you think the President A views it and B should view it?
Connell, I think there's probably 3 different steps in order of what we would want from Iran. Number 1, we want to make sure they do not have any military nuclear capability. Number 2, we would love it if they didn't have the capacity or the capability or the will to threaten others. And I think we would love a favorable regime change. But it's important for us to realize that in all of those cases, in this situation, we are a supporting force, not the primary force. The primary force are those protesters that have been so bravely protesting for the last 2 weeks. And the underlying concern is an economic condition that is dismal and an outlook that is bleak. And if we can do some things covertly or not to support them, then that is in our best interest in achieving those 3 primary objectives.
Well, that's a really interesting point, Geraldo, because if you think about it, there are other options at our disposal, at the disposal of the United States. Cyber has certainly been employed in the past, could be employed further right now. There are probably conditions that we could help put in place with these protesters to allow them to do what they're doing more effectively. And then you do wonder, and maybe the president is hinting at this today, whether bombing the regime out of power is necessarily the best way to get this end result that the general is referring to.
My only problem with feeling optimistic about an Iran moving in a different direction is that people forget this is not, a tin horn mini country someplace stuffed between another country in the Middle East. This is a very large, important, economically significant, religiously important nation. I hate the Ayatollah rule. I think they've screwed up Iran royally. But when you think about, if this starts to go south in Iran, if the regime really starts coming apart in a profound and obvious way.
Well, already is economically.
There's going to be hell to pay. Also, there's going to be hell to pay. There's going to be, if this thing goes into a civil war in Iran, imagine how many die. Imagine the results, suicide bombers and all the other things you can possibly imagine. I don't want to put a damp on the democracy movement. I think that it's wonderful. I would love to see it in my lifetime. But I remember being optimistic many times, many decades, about this particular nation, and the grip that the religious government, the conservative government, the fanatics have is very profound. They've got Iran by the short hairs, and I just don't expect anything easy out of Iran, Connell.
That's what we've been told for years by experts that have followed Iran and covered it and been there, and is that the expertise of this regime, Ayatollah on down, General Teichert, is in self-preservation. And you wonder if these comments today that the president is reiterating are just part of that, and that's why, as you said, you got to be skeptical, right?
You do. I think there's a large dose of cautious optimism here, but I think that you need to go back a little bit to a year ago, and the reason that the Ayatollah came to the negotiating table with the United States about the nuclear program is because even back then, he was worried about regime survival because of economic conditions, and now it's likely an order of magnitude worse. So I really do think the Ayatollah himself, who is an expert at internal security with his Revolutionary Guard, sees that the threat is real. And our hope is that we do see some protester success, but like Geraldo said, the outcome of something like this is always highly in question.
What were you just about to say, Geraldo?
That optimism goes to Iran and the Middle East to die. Anyone who thinks that this is going to end up well is wrong, if history is any guide. It's not going to end up well. The odds are. I would love to see it. I would love to see an Iran like the old days when the Shah had all those F-14s and he controlled big part of the Middle East. He was a steadying voice. He was showing that democracy works and could flourish, and that opportunity. And that's when all the Iranian kids came to school here in the United States.
Right.
I remember those days. I remember socializing with them. What the optimism was when the Shah's family was in New York and going around and having fun, and everybody was high-fiving. It was like then the 20th century had come to the Middle East. Now it's the 21st century, and it's looking a lot more pessimistic. And I think that if you think that this is going to end easy or in a way that works for the United States interests, I think that maybe there's a bit of the Pollyanna there, Connell.
Yeah, I know this is a serious subject, but think about it. Where else or who else is going to make a reference to the Shah's family, socializing around New York other than the great Geraldo Rivera? That's why we have him on every day. General Teichert, thank you for your analysis as well. Let's hope for the best, obviously. Okay, I want to move back.